Hey all, welcome back to the channel. It is Monday and that means it's countdown day. I hope you're having a great start to your week, and if not, hopefully we can turn it around and give you a great start now. This is an exciting one for me. The voting has never been closer. The race has never been closer for any countdown. As a matter of fact, number 1 and number 2 are ties this time around. That's right, ties. Woo, baby, the voting was wild for the top 10 versions of Starscream. That's going to be our focus this time around in the latest GotBot Countdown. Hey all, welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, your most humble of hosts, Dennis Moulton, aka GotBot. As always, man, please like, comment, share, of course, subscribe, and while you're at it, light 'em up, baby. Hit that notification bell, please. It helps me out a ton. Let you know when content of all sorts goes up here on the channel. Check out Machinery of Man, The Everything Factor, all the groups that I'm either a mod or admin for, as well as all my social media links, all of that down in the description below. If you're in a position to help the channel to grow, you can use the donate link. Check us out on Patreon. See what we offer to you through Teespring, or of course hit the join button right here on YouTube. Right here on YouTube, and become a channel member. And this is the top 10 versions of Starscream as voted on by fans all across social media. And this was fast and furious voting. A lot of people have their favorites now. This is also pan everything. It covers all of the plastic representations of Starscream, the movies, the comics, the cartoons, the video games. This is the 10 versions of Starscream, period. A lot of people said, well, you know, just like they did with Optimus and Megatron, by the way, you should have identified if you mean in fiction, and then, like, do you mean cartoons or do you mean comics? Or, you know, are we doing just in video games, or are we doing just plastic? We're doing all of it, man, because that's where the challenge lies. If we were just doing plastic, yes, Starscream's had a billion offerings, but it's so much easier to pick because you only got to think about the best plastic offerings. If we're just thinking about programs, well, there's only been so many programs, so it's an easy one to kind of pick. This is a lot harder because there's so much, a mountain of Starscream to consider, if you will. Which ones are going to make it? Well, we're about to find out, but before we go into the list, of course, we're going to do the honorable mentions first. In the honorable mentions, we have, let's see, we have the Hearts of Steel version of Starscream. We have the Ghost Starscream, the Robots in Disguise Starscream 2015, which I think was a great one. I thought the RID 2015 Starscream was maniacal. I thought he was great. And what else do we have here? The movie Bayverse, if you will, Starscream. And Masterpiece version 2. What's that? MP9? MP7? I don't remember now. But Masterpiece version 2. Then I want to throw out another couple of honorable mentions, just because these ones got votes and I thought that they were worth throwing in. First things first, Frank Tadaro specifically got a couple of votes. He didn't make the list, but I like his voice for Starscream. I like his iteration and how he has made Starscream his own. I dig it. So Frank Tadaro, good on you getting a couple of votes. Starscream wife got a vote. And her vote, because I let her vote on this one. It only seemed right, man, to let her have a real say on this one. Hers was for the Dark Energon Starscream, which she uses and says that if she wasn't a Transformer, that is exactly who she would be. She would be the Dark Energon Starscream. That's like her, you know. A while ago, we done a list of what Transformer would you be if you could be a Transformer, and that was an interesting countdown too. If she could be a Transformer, she would be the Transformers Prime Dark Energon Starscream. Just saying. But none of those made the list. None of them are actually on the list. So who is? You know what we're going to do? We're going to kick things off with number 10 first. And coming in at number 10, we have Energon Starscream. I thought that was an interesting one. Energon Starscream was voted for because a lot of people liked his actual look, colors, and robot type, and they liked him because he was something totally different for Starscream. Being revived and having his memory wiped, he became a very loyal Decepticon and loyal soldier to Megatron. Even defending Shock Blast, he was loyal to the Decepticons. He was the ideal soldier, the ideal seeker. There had never been a Starscream like it before, and I don't think there's ever really been a Starscream like it since. Because of his unique character, as minimal as it was, he scored enough votes to take the number 10 slot. Number 9 moves away from fiction somewhat. To be fair, in number 10, the votes he got, some specifically said, you know, his body type from, you know, his animation, and some said, well, the way he was done in plastic is just a great, it's just a great version of Starscream. So it was sort of equal votes there. But number 9 is squarely in the realm of plastic, and it is the Classics Deluxe Class Starscream. Most specifically, the version where he's actually colored with his animation colors. But most people said just the classic Starscream, and a few people like specifically identified that color scheme, so I kind of put them all together as the classics. We know that that mold was used innumerable times, and while it does have a lot of articulation limitations and whatnot, it is undeniable that in terms of embodying the look of the character, that was extremely, extremely successful in capturing the Seekers, and especially in capturing Starscream. At least if you go with the version that was actually painted to match the animation. For that reason, he easily takes the number 9 slot. Number 8 is a more recent one and a more interesting one, and this one is based on the fiction. And a lot of people said, it's sort of traditional Starscream, but if Starscream was younger. And a lot of people voted for this one because he was so unlikable that you, as always, wanted Starscream to get his comeuppance, and this Starscream actually did. Who am I talking about? I'm talking about Cyberverse Starscream. I totally get it. I honestly do. I mean, it had the look and the feel of Starscream. He certainly led the Seekers in his arrogant, bravado-inducing way. But just when you wanted him to kind of get what was coming to him, he did. It was very satisfying to see the growth of that character and to see his arc round out with him getting what he deserved all along. Enough people felt that way that he was able to easily take the number 8 slot. Coming in at number 7, we delve into the realm of the video games with the War for Cybertron, Fall of Cybertron version of Starscream. I love this one. I thought that the plastic representation was fantastic. Yes, we didn't have the traditional null rays, but the chain blaster things were cool. I like the robot mode, I like the articulation, and I like the Tetrajet mode. In the game, in that fiction, he was very arrogant again, and very capable. I found him quite kind of menacing, actually. But it was interesting to kind of see who he was and how he operated, like before kind of being part of those real ranks of the Decepticons. And, you know, he didn't hold the post of like Megatron's right-hand man at this point and whatnot. It was a really interesting take, and it was performed very well. It was written very well, executed very well, and then when we had the plastic representation, that too was done at a pretty high level and very, very nicely. Enough people remember the video game version and like the video game version that he was able to take the number 7 slot. Now coming in at number 6, I kind of had an amalgamation of some votes go together here, and it is for the Galaxy 4 / Cybertron version of Starscream. Perhaps the most maniacal. He breaks away from the Decepticons. He has an unbridled lust for power and kind of drives himself crazy in the pursuit of it, believing himself to be kind of equivalent to a god level character and a master manipulator. He even goes so far as to confront Primus himself. I mean, if Starscream was ever a threat, the Cybertron version would be it. He was cunning, he was deceptive, he was effective, he outmaneuvered the Autobots and the Decepticons a lot, and he came very close to actually being what he thought he was, the Emperor of the Universe. Can you imagine a universe under the complete reign of Starscream? Ugh, I shudder just thinking about it. Arguably the most ruthless Starscream ever. Some people voted for the Supreme Class plastic offering, some voted for his personality in Galaxy Force, and some voted for his personality in Cybertron. I kind of default to the Cybertron personality, so all of those kind of went amalgamated together to help this guy take the number 6 spot, which arguably he so rightfully does deserve. At number 5, we continue with the idea of a cunning Starscream, except this one was a little bit different. Not so much maniacal as he was deceptive, and he knew how to play the game to climb the ranks the way he wanted. He was a politician. I'm talking, of course, about the IDW representation of Starscream. A lot of character depth there as well. A lot of exploration into his motivations and his machinations, as well as his doubts and his frailties and his strengths. A lot of people point out the way he maneuvered himself to the top to gain a a position of power, and I can't argue that the way that was weaved was pretty interesting. Enough people thought that that was a dynamic version of Starscream in such a way that we've never seen that depth to his character before, that he was easily able to take the number 5 slot. Coming in at number 4, we stick squarely with the plastic representation and Earthrise Starscream. I think if the Classics was on this, it was almost foregone that the Earthrise was going to appear, because all the Earthrise is the Classics upscaled with the shoulder pylon things connecting a different way, and a couple of, hinges on the wings, like, a couple little extra bells and whistles, arguably. I was never a huge fan of it, but I will give credit where credit is due. For a display on your shelf, it embodies Starscream and the Seekers extremely well. Except for the things on his ankles, those like tail fins, like they shouldn't be there. Outside of that, when we get in plane mode, that's where that mold shines, man. Gorgeous plane mode, as if it jumped right off the screen. Enough people, though, see the Earthrise Seekers as a definitive Seeker mold. Right size, right shape, right look, right colors, that enough people, kind of feel that way, that he was easily able to take the number 4 slot. And that only leaves us with 3. And at number 3 is one of the versions of Starscream that I think is the most fun, that being the animated version of Starscream. I always liked his dialogue, and that I love that he had all these clones that were part of his personality, and that he thought he was going to control, but he couldn't control them effectively. I even like when he got reduced to being a head, and he was still a smart aleck. You couldn't keep him down. You couldn't stop Starscream. It was hilarious to see what he would do next and how he would present himself, and wonderful to see the lengths he would go to try and pursue his goal and his want for power. He was one of the more creative outings for Starscream, and I respect that. And enough people thought the same way that he was able to take the number 3 slot. And here at number 2, we have a tie. Exact same number of votes for the Transformers Prime version of Starscream and the Siege Starscream. The Siege one based explicitly in the plastic representation. A lot of people said, you know what, that's about as good of a Tetrajet as you're going to get, even if it's not perfect. And the robot is astonishingly good. It has so much articulation. It has the ability for the calves on the legs to push in to give a deeper knee bend. It has almost every hinge you could want, right down to wrist swivel. Now, some people did say, yeah, okay, the chest pops off, but it's such an easy thing to pop on, or you could put a pin through it yourself. That's really hardly worth complaining about. I haven't really experienced that as an issue with my versions of the mold. I think it embodies the characters of the Seekers so well, and the character of Starscream tremendously well. I think the robot is super animation accurate, and I think the Tetrajet is just cool. A lot cooler than I initially thought it was going to be. To each their own. As for Transformers Prime, a lot of people said that character was great. Steve Blum done a wonderful job of voicing him and bringing life and making that Starscream, again, an homage to the original, but still unique in his own right. The best things about Starscream was his arrogance and his pomposity, while also being such a hateful coward. Like, you always wanted the worst for him. And the interactions he had with Knockout were the things of gold. That takes the right actor to bring the right life to the character. Both the Transformers Prime and the Siege Starscream, excellent versions. And enough people thought the same thing, that they were able to take, you guessed it, the number 2 slot. And that only leaves us with one. And wouldn't you know it, here on the top of the mountain, baby, at number 1, we have another tie. Exact same number of votes. One of them is, as many might expect, G1. But he's not the only one at the top of the mountain, because of equal votes is Armada Starscream. Two very different takes on the character. On the one hand, with G1, you have the Starscream that started it all. You have that classic raspy voice of Chris Latta, or Lada. I've never been sure how to pronounce his last name. The late great Chris Latta. And you know what? Honestly, he's my Starscream of choice. I loved how sniveling he was. I love how conniving he was. I love how much, he relished in being the bad guy while also pushing to kind of take power for himself. He was full of quips, full of smart remarks. And in the movie, how many wonderful one-liners does he have? Come on. I declare myself the new leader, or nominate myself as the new leader, whatever it was. Like, come on, how can you not love that level of arrogance? It was classic. It was so good. So good. And even if you wanted to like him, he would do something to make you not like him. The fun with G1 Starscream is that he is the character that you just love to hate. And then we have Armada, and the Armada Starscream proved himself in battle a lot of times. He actually had a bit of an affinity for the mini-cons, and he didn't really have a ton of disdain for the Decepticons. He just kind of didn't trust anyone, didn't trust any of them. He liked them better than Megatron did, and I think that it's probably safe to say he is the version of Starscream who may suffer the most kind of abuse by the hands of his leader. So much so that he questions his loyalty, and he even ends up making the ultimate sacrifice in the end to kind of save everyone from Unicron. As much as he was going to be able to do, it is what it is. This is one of the most kind of heroic versions of Starscream. He goes from a Decepticon, a capable Decepticon, to really one of the heroes of Armada. It is a very deep character, and it is perhaps the most that Starscream ever looked inside himself and questioned who he is and where he belongs. Both G1 and Armada, they equally deserve to come in at the number 1 slot. And there you go, ladies and gentlemen. We've gone from 10 down to 1 once again. And we still had some other ones here that didn't make it. Beast Wars. As we go down here, I don't know if I said the Ghost. I think I did. I think that the Ghost made it into the honorable mentions. The Combiner Wars one, the Power of the Primes one, made it, believe it or not. MP52 had a couple of votes. I think it's 52. 50? I'm not sure. The new one, the version 3. What else here? Machine Wars Starscream had a couple of votes. MPM10 had a couple of votes. Shattered Glass had a couple of votes. And I don't know, what's one more I can throw in here? New Age's Lucifer. Yes, a third-party version. By the way, that mold for Starscream is tremendous. Very well done for a Legends class. Very well done. Anyway, there you go. There you have it. There are the top Starscreams across all fiction and all plastic. I appreciate you guys coming by, giving me some of your extremely valuable time. I do know how important it is to you. If you are in a position to help the channel to grow, you can use the donate link. Check us out on Patreon, see what we offer to you through Teespring, or of course you can hit the join button right here on YouTube to become a channel member. While you're at it, hit the subscribe button, stick around, have some fun with us. Don't forget that somehow, some way, each and every single day, you do make a difference. And I look forward, baby, to the next time that you and I get together to have another visit, either in the live streams on Thursday nights after stop motion premieres, or the old-fashioned way right here inside the videos.